Hey YouTubers. So I'm going to give you guys a sample of this course I've been working on for way too long. And I thought for our Vlogmas, what a great time to go ahead and release some of this and see what you guys think. I'd love some honest feedback, just, in general on what you're thinking. And don't worry about hurting my feelings. I have really thick skin. um, and I would just love to know what you think. So I'm going to just give you a little disclosure about this course. It's designed to be a multiple parts. So it's not just this is it. This is the beginning of the course. And if you would just try it out and see, the whole idea is to have someone that is either trying to learn how to homeschool on a budget or is brand new to homeschooling and would like to be able to homeschool, but they have to figure out what the cost will be, whether they are on a very small budget or if they have a larger budget, but they still need to stay within the parameters, which I think it's always, no matter how much money you make, I think that's always a good idea. And so I'd love for your feedback. I'd love for you to just kind of let me know what you think. It is not finalized. It is just in a beyond maybe second draft, we could say, but not final draft. So give me your feedback. Let me know what you think. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you learn. Thanks. Hi, welcome to Homeschoolific. I'm Diana. This is course Homeschooling on a Budget, Section 1. Where to start? So if you haven't met us, we are Lavonda and Diana. Like I said, I'm Diana. I'm the one over the left. Lavonda's the one over to the right. You will hear our voices in different times. You will see us at different times. We're just two moms that see a need and we want to help other families in their journey. We all have to start somewhere, and we really want to help. Together, we can help make your homeschool world homeschoolific. So, you want to homeschool on a budget. You know this, right? Let's talk about what you should know right now. You know you need it to be cost effective. You know that you want to homeschool, and you have a basic understanding of teaching styles. You've narrowed it down to your child's learning style, and you know how much money you want to spend. So if you look confused about, if you're looking at the screen confused about teaching styles or learning styles, there is going to be a code below and a link sending you over to our Homeschool 101 course. You can use that link and also use the code to get a 50% discount on our Homeschooling 101 course. You'll need to take that because you need to learn how to homeschool. That is very important. Without it, you're going to probably not know how to take care of the rest of this course, okay? So make sure you know how to homeschool. What does it mean to homeschool on a budget? So we need to define this before we move forward. Homeschooling on a budget often means as inexpensive as possible. However, most of us don't even know how much we're really spending, and we need to understand that even when we're not spending money necessarily, like a free education, then you are still spending money often. Also, you need to find out if you're already a homeschooler, places you may be spending in your budget that you hadn't considered before. And I have a ton of these things myself. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that you may have hidden expenses that you have rolled into, maybe like your grocery bill or your electric bill or your whatever. And so there are hidden expenses that you want to think about that could go up, that may not go up, and you want to consider that. Also, homeschooling on a budget may also mean that you're just schooling within your budget. And that's a different thing for different people. So we will cover that as well in a different section. We'll talk about doing it very inexpensively, but we'll also talk about how to stay in your budget while homeschooling. Free is not always free. It is important that we think about our free education and what we're actually paying for a lot of times. Make sure to consider all that you spend on education when you are making your budget. How much did you spend at the beginning of a school year last year? Will you have less clothes to buy or uniforms to buy? And what about food and school lunches? Are you saving on the school lunches? That's important as well. And how about fuel? Will you save money on fuel? I know when my kids were public schooled, we easily spent $100 to $200 per child
and occasionally up to $300 just on those Walmart lists that the schools would send out that we were required, somewhat not, I guess, I don't know, to get. um, when we considered this when we were homeschooling, it was very easy to find that money. Not to mention, we were always buying new backpacks and things like that. So, there are things to consider that you need to add into your budget, and those are just as important as what you won't have to worry about. What you had to worry about previously, but you don't have to worry about now. So, you want to think about that. You will want to consider that you will be probably doing like field trips and things like that. You'll have testing, possibly, if that's required in your state. Again, if you don't know what I'm talking about with the testing, take the Homeschool 101 course, okay? Now, testing isn't generally, as far as I know, a fee if it's required, but every state's different. Internet usage. Your internet usage may be capped and it may go up. So you want to consider that. And then, do you have lunches that, like your home lunches, will it cost you more? Because maybe you were on a free lunch. And these things work whether you were homeschooled previously, private school previously, even if you were preschooled, your child was preschooled, you probably have some of these costs that you could take away and some of them that you may need to add.
All right, so we have lots of questions to ask, and these questions should be answered before you proceed. And it seems almost a bit like putting the horse in front of the cart, but it's really not. When you're making a budget for anything, the more information you have, the better budget you'll have, and so therefore you'll be able to, it'll translate into real life more so than if you just throw out numbers. So one thing to consider is how much time you have, and that will determine a lot of where your money will go. So, there's a thing in everything, no matter what you're doing. If you are going to exchange time, it will cost you money. And if you want to save money, it will cost you time. Okay, so if you want to do something more frugal, then you need to make the time for the prep work, for the printout work, for maybe even the research that you'll need to do ahead of time. Homeschooling for free or close to free is actually very doable. But either you or someone else who has been gracious, which there are people on the internet who have done this because they have a passion for homeschooling, but there will be some prep work that will have to happen ahead of time. And usually, the less you spend, the more prep work it'll be. Think about how much space you have. How much space you have will also determine how much you'll spend. And that usually means that you don't want to buy a program that has a lot of pieces, or you don't want to start a program that requires you to buy a lot of pieces if you don't have a lot of space to store these things. Likewise, if you have a lot of spaces to store it, do you have the bookcases and bins and all that stuff? Do you need to budget for those things? How many children are you homeschooling? That makes a big difference. And if you are homeschooling many children, can you actually combine those? Most people love doing that, like combining your children. That sounds weird. Combining your children in certain subjects like history or something like that, or science. But then you also have to consider the age gaps. If you have major age gaps, then that may be harder sometimes. Some things you can still get away with, but like for me, when I've got a 12th grader and I'm going all the way down to second grade, there's very few subjects I'm going to be able to combine. That being said, my 12th grader is doing the majority of his work more independently, but I digress. Goals. What are your goals for your child? Sometimes certain goals will translate to more dollars or more time. Again, you're going back to the time money exchange. And then, can you make your budget flexible? And so, or is your budget flexible? So like there's a flat budget that you might have for schooling. Like, this is all I can afford for the whole school year. Or like for me, I have my initial where I'm buying my items, but then there's also where I have like a budget per month for things that we do all through this school year. And that can be flexible just depending on what's going on in our lives. Christmas time, there might be a little less money. But then, and birthday months, but then other months I might have more to play with. So is your budget flexible? And so if it is flexible, you can kind of just focus on one area up front And if it's not flexible, then you know you need to have a more detailed plan for the year.
All right, so this concludes section 1. In section 2, we will cover a breakdown for every budget. So I'm doing it this way because I want you to be able to decide, like if you want to go with a free homeschool education, you could just do the free ones and not go any other ones. But let's say you have a budget between $100 and $300, then I want to give you options for that and tips on that. In addition, there will be more after those, but just so you know, you'll have a few different breakdowns and you can watch them all, or you can just skip around if you want. But I designed this course so that you didn't have to watch them all if you didn't want to, okay? So just keep in mind, for the beginning, set a budget, set your goals, and make sure that you can answer most of those questions that I have listed. Go back if you need to, all right? Thank you so much for joining us here at Homeschoolific. We do it, you can too.